Hello, all you beautiful people out there, and welcome to my channel. Wasn't planning on coming live tonight, but I'm like, what the hell? So, anyway, it's getting close to Halloween, so figured I'd get a spooky, episode in. And it's pertinent. I will be reviewing something tonight, like I do during most of my live streams. I would like to remind my fellow Americans to vote. You may not realize it, but your vote counts. That's all I'm going to say about it. And now, with that out of the way, excuse me, we are not going to go through all of this tonight, but we will go through some of it. It just depends on Hey, Jonathan. Oh, I think he's great. Genetically modified skeptic? Yeah, I think he's great. What do you think about him? Okay, let's see. Oh, hang on. Okay, let me make sure I'm sharing. Alrighty. Jonathan, atheism is not a religion, and only religions have denominations. Don't know quite what you're getting at there. But, I mean, if you're thinking about, like, different schools of thought, like humanism and postmodernism and all that, you can be a Christian and be a humanist. You can be an atheist and a humanist. And you don't have to be a religious person to be a humanist or a postmodernist or any other philosophical bent. Anyway, hang on. Sorry about that. All right. Shit.
All over. And beyond the mayhem and monsters, it's said that a nationwide network of satanic criminals exists.
Just letting you know right now, I'm probably gonna be demonetized for this, but we'll see. No, there is not a nationwide network of Satanists. Not even back in the 80s when this shit was taking place. I like Dark Matter. He's funny.
Start with the warped and wicked Charles Manson.
It's everything that human beings.
Charles Manson was not a Satanist. Not good enough. Charles Manson was not a Satanist, not that I know of anyway. Hey, Limited. Not much. I mean, he founded his own cult, for God's sake. You know? So I don't think he was a Satanist. Anyway. You're entitled to your opinion, Jonathan. But at any rate, hang on. Like I said, I'm probably not going to be monetized for this. So if you can throw a few bucks my way, it's greatly appreciated. Okay. So I should probably have started out with what was the Satanic Panic? I'm an American, and so I mainly know about the American Satanic Panic, but I do know that it held some sway in Great Britain, not as much. Some sway in Canada, not as much. Some sway in Australia, not as much. And so there are a lot of contributing factors that factored into the Satanic Panic. It wasn't just one thing. First of all, the Satanic Panic actually started in the 70s. Even though I'm saying the 80s, it actually started in the 70s. And I say 80s because I was born in 77. So, no, I do not, John. I used to. But I don't anymore. Okay, so first we've got the Manson cult killings, right? That was one of them. And then we've got Ramirez. Another California serial killer. Okay, we got him. And they were running around at about the same time. But the difference is Ramirez was a theistic Satanist. And as far as I know, Manson was not. So anyway, then in the 60s, more attention was being put on child abuse. It had always been there. Child abuse has always been with us. But it got more attention in the 60s. And so that played into the Satanic Panic. Then we've got music. For some reason, parents did not like metallic, heavy metal music. Pizzagate is not real, Jonathan. Pizzagate is a conspiracy theory. And I'm not going to say that other person's name, okay? But he's just one dude. You cannot judge an entire culture on one dude. So, Pizzagate was a farce. It was a conspiracy theory. It's been proven to be a conspiracy theory. I don't know why people still believe that shit. So anyway, then you've got Dungeons and Dragons, which, I mean, it's just a role-playing game. I've never played it. I've wanted to play it for a while. But I haven't played it yet. It's just a role-playing game, okay? And the guy who, himself, after supposedly playing it, he was a very troubled kid. He was a very troubled kid, okay? He was a very smart kid, and smart kids tend to be lonely, especially since he was a 16-year-old at college. And, plus, you've got groups like Bad popping up in the 70s and 80s. Something against Dungeons and Dragons. I can't remember what the B stands for, but anyway, Bad popped up, and so you've got all of these different shit shows running together. You've got Dungeons and Dragons, which, by the way, Christians had their own version of Dungeons and Dragons. So if Dungeons and Dragons was, satanic, why did Christians have their own version? I do not glorify them, Jonathan. I do not glorify them. I think they're pieces of shit that need to be locked up forever because I don't endorse the death penalty. Anyway, so we've got Bad. We've got the movement against the music industry because parents were mad about their kids listening to heavy metal. We've got an intensity of concentration on child abuse. We've got all of this stuff, right? So all of this converges. And it gives us something coming together in the 70s, and it really coalesces in the 80s. And unfortunately, I bought into this hook, line, and sinker because I was a fundamentalist in the 80s. So, anyway, okay, let's move on. Yeah, hang on.
They don't understand. It's all their fears. It's what they're not sure of. You dig what I'm saying? Satan to me would be God.
Well, the demented son of Sam killer David Berkowitz. These and others purportedly linked why they claim their kids were satanically abused. And to London, where rock star Ozzy Osbourne will tell us why. Whether a Satan exists,
I don't remember Ozzy Osbourne. Maybe I was just too young, but far as I know, Ozzy Osbourne was not a Satanist. But like I said, I don't remember him because I was very young at the time. Another thing you have to look at is people are looking for scapegoats, you know, like Ramirez. He did not want to take responsibility for his actions. What do you do when you don't want to take responsibility for your actions? Well, you can do one of two things. You can blame it on God or you can blame it on the devil. Just depends upon your preference who you blame it on. Oh, okay. Did not know that. Yeah, I know the makers of D&D were Christian too. A lot of people don't know that. But yeah, the makers of Dungeons and Dragons were Christians. So anyway, and this is Geraldo Rivera, and he's one of the ones that was responsible for spreading this shit. And I hold him at least partially responsible for what went down in the Satanic Panic. So yeah. Guess John didn't like me getting onto him. Oh well. I heard his widow feelings.
is a matter of belief. But we are certain that Satanism exists. To some, it's a religion. To others, it's the practice of evil in the devil's name. It exists.
Yes, it's a religion. It has both atheistic branches and theistic branches. And as you can probably tell by the names, atheistic Satanists do not believe that Satan exists. Theistic Satanists do. And they're the ones you gotta watch out for. But they are few and far between. And don't let these people scare you. Don't let these people scare you. And the reason I'm doing this now is I see us heading into another satanic panic. and I'm trying to head it off. I do have a Satanic Panic series. I may redo that at some point. Anyway, moving on.
And it's flourishing. Members of our studio audience tonight will attest to that. They are friends and foes of Satanism, devil worshippers, and law enforcement. Being into heavy metal doesn't necessarily mean your kid's also into Satanism, and most of these fans are not. But there is an undeniable connection between obsession with the really hard stuff and the occult. This stone
going to catch me because we're all over.
and beyond the mayhem and this stone pony from Kansas City is named Spike.
The upside down cross is a symbol of Satan.
Sorry about that. My fingers are going all over the place tonight. No, there is not a link between heavy metal music and Satanism. What the fuck are you talking about? Correlation does not equal causation. How many times do we have to tell you people that? It's like your brain turns off when we try to talk to you.
Ozzy is the rock and roll king, and most acid rock is involved with Satanism.
Let him who hath understanding reckon the number of the
Yeah, but which type of Satanism? They don't tell you that. Atheistic Satanism? Fine. I mean, atheistic Satanists are mainly humanists, you know? That's all they are. They just want to, piss off the Christians, so they identify as Satanists. It's always fun pissing off the Christians, ain't it? One of my favorite things to do since I left Christianity. All right, moving on.
beast.
a heavy metal freak from Louisiana. Joe got himself into self-mutilation in Satan's name.
We cut our arms and let the blood drip into a cup, and we pass it around and drink from the cup from each other.
Yeah, that's not a Satanist thing. That's a mental health thing. And if you're doing that shit, you need to go to a doctor. Honestly. It's a mental health problem, and you need to go to the goddamn doctor.
Blood.
Kim from Colorado also practiced the gruesome ritual.
Violence with blood. We like to see blood.
You know, I probably, definitely will get demonetized for mentioning this. So, again, if you want to contribute, please feel free. I used to self-harm. I was a goddamn Christian when I did that shit. I was a goddamn Christian when I did that shit. It has nothing to do with Satanism. It has to do with being fucked up in the head. And if you're in that place, you need help.
And we used to eat blood and stuff like that.
Drinking blood as entertainment is apparently a staple in the acts of heavy metalists like Wasp.
My life became centered not only around the marijuana I was smoking and the booze I was drinking.
Oh my God, lock that kid up right now. He was smoking marijuana and drinking booze. Oh my God, he's the worst singer I've ever heard of, said she with a lot of sarcasm in her voice. Honestly, if that was the worst thing you ever did, dude, smoke some weed and drink some booze, you're a pretty good kid. And I mean, dude, if all you did was drink booze and smoke a joint every now and then, you're a pretty good kid. Just saying. You know, seriously. I drank booze and smoked weed. Well, that makes you the worst kid ever, said she with sarcasm. Seriously, when are these people gonna figure out that that kids do this shit? And it's not just kids. Some people don't grow out of it. I mean, people just do this shit. And we're learning now weed ain't so bad. I mean, I personally don't do weed, but I don't have any problem with anybody else doing it, especially since it's legal here in Oregon. All right, moving on.
That it became centered around Satan.
Although Satanism is more obvious in the lyrics of groups like Megadeth, Slayer, Venom, and Iron Maiden. In St. Petersburg, Florida recently, satanic symbols filled the air at this concert by Danish-born King Diamond.
Yeah. The pinky finger and the forefinger, not a satanic symbol, dude. You really need to study your symbology if you're gonna talk like an expert, because this just makes you look foolish. Hey, Satan's little helper. I have no idea what you're talking about because I do not subscribe to TikTok.
What can you influence kids? I think people are too clever to be influenced by watching a band or listening to an album to go out and do the same. Because if they were that easy to influence, watching the news, you get the real thing. And everybody knows that.
Finally, someone speaking the goddamn truth. And look who it is. It's a heavy metal musician. It's a heavy metal musician speaking the goddamn truth. Yeah, he's right. He's absolutely right.
Right into your living room. Personally, I am a Satanist, a practicing Satanist, but we never tried to preach that religion to anybody.
Bull. An avowed Satanist, Diamond's protest that he's not preaching is belied by lyrics laced with references to death, grave.
That's not preaching Satanism, dude. Lyrics about death and graves? Is that all you've got? I mean, seriously? That's all you've got? Lyrics about death and graves. It's how he feels, man. Music is an art form. That's all it is. It's an art form. And, you know, I don't see how you can say any of that shit talks about Satanism. Now, full disclosure, I do not listen to heavy metal. You know, I just don't. I don't. I like stuff like with a melody, and I know that might rub some people the wrong way, but like Beethoven or, you know, stuff like that. Good for you, Limited. Good for you. Keep pissing them off. And vote. That'll really piss them off.
And evil. Of course, to some, it's just rock and roll rebellion. Satan has nothing to do with this kind of a concert.
Parents think, oh, Satanism, their kids. It's killing their kids. It's not killing their kids. The parents are screwing up in the beginning. We're the next generation. How do you like it?
Whatever the connection.
I want you to listen to that from the mouth of babes, right? The parents are screwing up from the beginning. And that's what all this was about, really. The parents were screwing up and they did not want to admit that they were screwing up. So they found something to blame. They found something to blame.
There is no doubt that teenage satanic activity in this country is increasing dramatically. In Bayou country.
What satanic activity? No, seriously, what satanic activity? All I'm hearing is there's an uptake in teenagers listening to rock and people drinking and smoking weed. That's all I'm hearing, dude. Gotta do better than that.
In southwest Louisiana, one persistent problem has been grave robbing.
So what do they take out of these tombs? They take out the bones, okay, especially on the older type grave sites.
Okay, this could be two things. Yes, it could be Satanism, but then why would Satanists have to kill people like they say they do, right? I mean, if they're digging up dead bodies, why do Satanists have to kill people for their bones, right? Okay. But second of all, Louisiana has a lot of voodoo practitioners, and a lot of voodoo practitioners use bones in their rituals, including human bones, including but not limited to human bones. So that does not mean anything. Just because bodies have been dug up doesn't mean there's Satanists in the area. Okay? All right. Moving on.
Is this because our understanding is that the right little finger has something to do with their culture, and they make a necklace out of them and they wear them. A necklace out of the...
Our understanding is and dude, who is this? Who are these people who ran around with necklaces of, like pinky fingers or whatever finger you said? I never saw that in my life. Never. I mean, maybe if you go to a voodoo ritual, you're going to see it. Because, I mean, no offense to voodoo practitioners. But when you go to these different religions that are not in Western culture, you're going to come across some strange rituals, strange to the Westerner. So, yeah, I mean, might come across it in voodoo, but I don't think you're going to come across it in everyday life.
Right knuckle.
And the graffiti is no longer John Loves Mary.
Death chamber, the point of no return, this says. As you walk into the main vault, it's a devil's pentagram, 666, the sign of the devil. Over here, a bloody skull and crossbones.
In Maine, a dozen churches were defaced with satanic symbols.
Well, you know what, people? Teenagers have always rebelled. That's what being a teenager is. It's testing your limits. Okay? And if you don't want these satanic symbols, my suggestion, stop talking about Satanism. It's just going to make them do it more. Okay? As long as teenagers have been around, which, by the way, hasn't been all that long, maybe about 200 or 300 years. No, yeah, I know the teen years have been around since, man has, but we're not talking about teen years. We're talking about teenagers. We're talking about the prolonged childhood, All right. And now there is a difference. It used to be, when you're like 12, the woman or girl, rather, because she is a girl at that age, will go ahead and marry. And a boy will find work. But in later years, in past 200 or 300 years, that has morphed.
In California, New Jersey, Alabama, and elsewhere, police have found inverted crosses and the remains of mutilated animals. But by far the most frightening of all are the reports of teenagers killing other kids in Satan's name. Item, Douglas County, Georgia.
I'm sorry for you, young lady, and I sentence you to a term of life in prison. I'm sorry for you, and I wish you good luck.
Yeah. These kids aren't killing in Satan's name. Unless, they're delusional. Which most of these kids, I don't think they are. My opinion. No. They're just looking for someone to blame. They don't want to take responsibility. And Satan's a good scapegoat. I mean, we could blame God. Because let's face it, God has a huge body count. Satan, too, maybe, if you can even call it that. I mean, well, 6. Job's children, but I mean, he had to have God's permission, so ultimately it was God.
Remove her from the courtroom, Mr. Sheriff.
17-year-old Melissa Ernest and 2 other teenage members of her coven admitted drinking her 15-year-old victim's blood, then dancing around her still warm body. Now listen to this report from a small town in Maine.
Yesterday's conviction of Scott Waterhouse for the murder of 12-year-old Giselle Cody may finally bring an end to talk of a satanic cult in the town.
Yeah, most of these quote-unquote satanic cults never existed. Never existed. They were just, 1 or 2 kids, horsing around, looking for someone to blame for their irresponsible acts. Anyway, I think that's going to do it for today. I'm going to come back to this. So please do come back for my coming back of this. And yeah, please like and subscribe and share because it's important we get this out. I see this happening, and I saw this happening when I first started my channel. That's one of the reasons I started my channel, was to get the word out that, hey, I see the same shit happening now. And we got to stop it because this shit ruined people's lives. And it not only ruined lives because of the people who were wrongly convicted and thrown in prison for nothing whatsoever. It ruined the lives of kids. It ruined the lives of kids. Okay? And the evangelical movement is ruining the lives of kids. Okay? Now, technically, the Satanic Panic never went away. It just subsided. All right. But we got to nip this thing in the bud. Because if we don't, we're going to have a real big problem on our hands. We've seen what mass hysteria can do. We've seen what mass hysteria can do. Hell, we're seeing it right now in America. What mass hysteria can do. Nip it in the bud. nip this shit in the bud. We can do this. But it's going to take every sane person to do this. Speaking of sane, go vote. All right. At any rate, that's all I got for you today. Peace out. And I will see you tomorrow for Saturday live stream. Bye.